right, so hello and welcome to the Black Tower. I'm your host, your guide, your brother, the Sorcerer Armanasul. And tonight I have a very all right, so hello and welcome to the Black Tower. I'm your host, your guide, your brother, the Sorcerer Armanasul.
Sorry.
Oh, that's cool. I got John if he'll behave his damn self.
Hello, everybody.
All right, so for tonight, we're going to be discussing one of the coolest motherfucking books I have ever fucking read. Got my very own Asaya called Luxa. This, you will notice, this is a bit different than the standard. The standard comes with a really nice gateway on it, but this one is my personal favorite. So John, I got a crazy question for you, man.
Sure.
So when you were deciding that you were going to, I don't know, like not write the Psychonauts manual, but when you decided that you were going to listen to this particular being and write this book of how to, hit higher levels and dimensions within the self. Yeah, how did that go, man?
It took a long time. It took a long time. At first I wasn't even really going to write a book. It was just me just doing what I did. I spent, it sounds pretty crazy, but I literally spent six, almost 7 years in meditation. That's all I did. That's literally all I did was meditate and contact these levels and travel and do all this, these spiritual workings. And eventually when I started putting it in a book, it wasn't even like it was coming from him anymore, or like Zach Ale or any of my counsel. It was more just kind of like the experiences and the stuff that I learned along the way of it, or kind of remembered. And, it just took a long time because I didn't really want to do it at first. It took me technically 13 years to write it because it would go in spurts. I'd write a couple paragraphs, then I'd sit and meditate, do yoga and do all these kind of Eastern practices along with more of ritualistic practices and meditation. So I was kind of blending them too. And eventually it just kind of came together, man. Honestly, it just came together. And that's how I knew it was supposed to happen, because it all came together within, I say 13 years of writing it, but it probably came together all together in 3 months. And it just kind of all came together. And next thing you know, that's when Aeon Sophia Press was, at least nice enough to give me a chance to get it out.
It took you that long to write it?
Yeah.
It took me less than 4 hours to devour it.
Yeah.
and it's not one of those, it might be one of those books you can read through, but it's not one of those books that you can work through that quick, that fast. Like for example, I don't know, for anybody out there who might actually own a copy of this, page 14 is going to be your best friend ever. See, John likes laughing at me because this is the number one page that I point out. The connection with your oversoul. It is the most important part. Page 14, that's his art there for the spirit itself that's over it. And over here it gives the instructions on how to connect with the oversoul. That I'm gonna be honest with you, man. It blows my fucking mind how I've worked all kinds of systems, seriously, really. And your book made sense.
Sure.
And I don't imagine anybody could just pick it up and just be like, oh wow, and grasp the ins and outs of it. You got vibration, you have frequency, you have colors, you have sounds, the whole 9 yards. And it's one of those things where whatever you read through and you think that you picked up all the pieces, you have done a cursory glance at best.
Sure.
I mean, because I was noticing, how it's kind of spread out just a bit, but it allows you to individually work on each piece.
Right.
Or piece it together if you actually understand how it pieces together. It allows I know it's more of an advanced book, but it's also a book that even a beginner could take and run with just from opening the link or the doorway with their oversoul it's astounding how you've done this with just visualization techniques.
Yeah.
Versus the myriad of words so many occult practitioners have said, and oh, do this, oh, do that. And on page 14, you've got the answer to how to do it in a visualization meditation.
Yeah. And, that's really what ritual is in the end. Like whether you're physically doing a ritual or energetically doing a ritual, in the end, it's all about visualization. So whether you're, doing the physical movements and, doing your counterclockwise, your clockwise rotations physically, when you're just doing it like in a visualization, what's the difference? Your mind doesn't really know the difference, whether you're just doing it physically or going through all these rites, or you're just going straight to it with your mind. And in the end, it's only the person doing it that's holding themselves back from it.
Yeah.
So it's, as you brought up the beginners, yeah. And I think I mentioned earlier to you that it's written for people that have been kind of in the occult for a while. They understand their ritual magic. They understand the foundations of magic. It's, I'm going to be honest. It would be dangerous for a beginner just to grab it and just flip through it and do whatever they wanted to in it. So the beginners would find more effect of actually reading it from, the beginning to the end and following it step by step. Whereas somebody that's a little bit more, apt and a little bit more seasoned, they'll be able to do, kind of flow through it a little bit quicker, but find the visualizations to kind of bring everything that they've been working life pretty much in together.
Yeah, we did a collaboration video one time, did a copy with Sorcerer Energy where I introduced you. And then we did another one, later on and so forth and so on. And I was like, when your book's actually released, I want to do this, the book review of it. And one of the things I love about it is I don't know if you're knowledgeable of something called barbaric tones.
No, I wouldn't say barbaric tones. No.
Okay. So barbaric tones, a lot of ancient languages, like they'll have power words and so forth and so on throughout magical scripts and so forth and so on.
Right.
And they don't seem to follow any known language. And they're called barbaric tones.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And they're called barbaric tones because they create energy of a particular type. Well, you have done for visualization what barbaric tones did for the spoken language.
Sure.
And it's really crazy because I was combining my knowledge of the barbaric tongues when I was doing the visualizations, and I was like, holy shit. Because there's like a lot of the times practitioners we'll sit there and like in a ritual or something like that, we assume a god form, or we take on a likeness or a attribute, right?
Right.
Well, with your book, you're able to sit there in the silence of your own little mind, your own little world, sit there, visualize these colors, these symbols, and all this other stuff, and all of a sudden, it what you would think would be a passive effect actually hits you like that right there. And I'm really not used to that on a meditation front. The only time I've ever dealt with that in meditation is when I was working etheric manipulation, which is an actual active method of working and creating stuff.
Yes.
It's really strange that instead of you creating, this is it creating it in you.
Yeah. 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 It's basically, as I call it, it's like basically imprinting your energy field with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the longer you do the visualizations, the longer your mind's set in those visualizations, the more that those visualizations and those symbols and where you're placing them, you become that. That starts to imprint in your energy field, and your energy field starts to vibrate at that. And when you do that, that's how you connect to the frequency. And that's you becoming that frequency, or you merging with that level of consciousness. Whether that be a lower level of consciousness, as some people would refer to demons, or a higher form of consciousness that some people would consider angelic. Either way, it's you are that consciousness, and that is you in the whole spectrum of it. So the book just gives you ways to do that to yourself.
Yeah, one of the interesting things you and we were talking about was white lighters and light workers and stuff like this, and it makes you cringe because you're like, I'm not a light worker. I work all the spectrums of the light.
Right. And that's really what a light worker should do. In the end, they're like, oh, love and light. And what is light to them? What is it? Just white light? Like what is it? You know, it's like, to me, light itself is clear. You know, if people really want to get into a color of what light really is, it's clear. And from that void or that nothingness of blackness, when it became aware, it created a clear light before light became a refraction. You know, so even white light itself is a refraction of experience. And so before any of that, it's a clear light. So really light is clear. And it's kind of funny because a lot of love and light workers, they only want to work on one edge of the spectrum, and doing that, it takes away the other half of you. And if you're not paying attention to the other half of you, you're going to be in a state of imbalance, you know, no matter how happy you want to allow yourself to be.
Yeah, because they've kind of crippled themselves. They've cut their leg off or cut their nose off, spite their faces. The way I put it.
Yeah. Yeah, complete imbalance. Exactly. They said in the chat there. And you know, it's really about that middle pillar, you know, and it's you know, you can look at it in Kabbalistic terms, the right and left pillar and the right and left, you know, whatever. It's that middle ground that keeps that balance. You know, people have talked about in yin and yang. Every form of religion and every form of spirituality or occultism has some form of duality in it. Yeah. And you're always going to find those people that go one way or the other. And in both directions, even if you're out there summoning a demon every day, you're still going to be in balance. You're not going to have that other end of the spectrum, and that's also going to be detrimental to your own spiritual growth.
You know, I've read a lot of books in my life, and I've met a lot of authors, and I've met a lot of kick-ass practitioners, and there ain't no shame on my game. I'm gonna go ahead and put this out there. I think I was the first to write an actual review. And I meant every word of it from the bottom of my heart. Yeah, I was in a place where literally I was fucking stuck. And I couldn't figure out why, because I knew it had nothing to do with the fact of, you know, being able to shift consciousness. I knew it wasn't anything like that. But I knew something was a little out of whack. And it wasn't until I got your book and I went to literally working on it or working through it. Like right off the bat, page 14 automatically. Like, I don't even think it was 5 minutes after I did that meditation. Like, all of a sudden, I had this urge to just slap myself. I mean, not literally, but, you know, I mean, it was just like, damn it, Waylon, what the fuck have you been doing, man? You know, you are so off base with where you were going. Because, you know, there comes a point when we awaken or when we, you know, when we connect with our HGA, with our daemon, with our oversoul. No matter what the name of that being is, whatever you refer to it as, your God self, you know, things like this. There is an individual path for everybody, and there is something that everybody is working at in their own way. It's their own direction that they're going. And I guess having my hands in so many damn cookie jars and doing so many different things, you know, and all this, that, and the other. And I was never looking for simple is beyond me. It just bores me to fucking tears, and you know, fuck it.
Me too.
You know, the more advanced and just technical it is, the better I like it, because I can actually piece that shit together. I can understand it. But it amazed me at how technical the book was, but how simple the approach. And that's the only way I know how to put it. How simple the approach was to be able to meditate, visualize color, visualize a symbol shape in a series of these. And the next thing I know, you know, like I was telling you, I was damn near moved to fucking tears.
Yeah.
You know, because I was like, you know, what the fuck? You know, even my higher self was like, you know, I can feel my wings. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, that threw me for a loop, because, you know, when you hear that part of yourself actually say something like that, and you can feel it, you know, it's a fucked up shit. That's when you're like, you know, holy crap. Because years ago, I was told, you know, as I rise, you know, as you rise, I rise, as you fall, I fall. Well, that's always been like at the back of my mind. And so anything I do, you know, I'm conscious of whether or not, you know, it follows my true will, so forth and so on. Anyway, but somewhere down the road, there always comes a point, I was always able to bounce back, you know, and all this other stuff. But for like the last, I don't know, month and a half, something like that, I felt really blocked and just blocked off, or just held back, or something was off. Couldn't figure out what it was. I tried every exorcism underneath the sun, thinking maybe it was a construct needing broke up. Uh, but try as I would, nothing worked. And then that connection with the Oversoul, it was it's like I don't know, it busts any blocks. It's
Yeah.
the perfect spiritual drainer.
Yeah, it really is. And you know what's cool about Oversoul? Any kind of, you can name it whatever you want. You can just name it God, if you really wanted to. But Oversoul is like the mother and father. It is the energetic, like, parent of your soul. So it includes both that mother and father aspect, or that love and light aspect, or that light and dark aspect. It is both things of you. And what's cool about when you're working with that, it allows you to have your own path. It allows you to find your own path, because all of your experience is already within that Oversoul. So it allows you to walk your own path a lot clearer without being so much led astray in something else that may not be exactly your own path. You might think it's your own path because you're a little lost and you're trying to find your way. But working with that Oversoul, like you noticed, that quick break through that block, it sets you on your path. It doesn't really create a path for you. It just makes you realize, you're like, okay, like things start coming a little easier for you when it comes to understanding what you should be doing.
Yeah. One of the most powerful thing about it is, at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little hesitant at first, a little reticent even. At first glance, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, this is just like, any other book of meditations and so forth, so on.
Yeah.
And when I went to looking at it and I went to doing it, first thought I had was, holy crap, I'm not trying to stick to one spectrum or the other spectrum, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find the middle path, as we call it. But it was really strange though, that when it connected like that, it didn't have that altering effect that I'm used to when like say 20 something years ago, when I was breaking through religious indoctrination and programming.
Mm-hmm.
I was so afraid that connecting to a higher vibration like that in that manner would induce some kind of form of what would you call it, uh, psychosis of sorts,
Yes.
like falling back into something. And instead, it didn't do that. Instead, all it did was just free me. It was like, holy crap, I could actually see things so much clearer. I mean, it was really, really strange. I could, more energy. I literally felt like anything that had stuck to me, it literally had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Like, nowhere to go. Like literally, it just came right off me. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm the God who commands, and you do not belong here. And it was, and you remember we were having a talk, and I was saying, it was really fucking weird because, I can stand there and I'm sure of myself when I'm standing there in a circle, confident and all this other stuff, and I don't question anything, and I go by what I'm doing. But to honestly feel the that I guess, for lack of better words, that spiritual authority, that divine authority, I guess.
Yes.
Dude, that was hella fucking crazy.
Yes. It gives you power. Gives you your own power back.
Oh, I like the way you word that. Gives you your own power back. Hell yeah.
Your own power back. And that's what I think a lot of people need. And people from all over the place, whether they're into occultism, whether they're into any form of spirituality, whether they're just your typical, person that wakes up and has a blind eye to everything around them, they all need to seek their own power back. It's like this, unfortunately, we live on a planet where it has been pretty much based on mental slavery.
Yeah, I mean, we live in a realm of stagnation.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what we say, everything that we do ends up bogging us down. Like, for example, the poor are those who can't, afford fresh fruits, vegetables, so forth and so on. We have processed foods to live off of,
Yeah.
whatever you can afford. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just, but what it does is it clogs down the body, stuff like that.
It does.
And also when you're looking at systems of magic, I don't care if it's left hand, right hand. If it doesn't give life,
yeah.
If it doesn't make you stronger, if it doesn't move something within you, and I'm not talking about your emotions, I'm talking about, at your heart core. If it doesn't truly move you. I don't care, if you tapped into the most evilest demon in the world. I'm just going to use this as an example. If you do not feel the impression of, something altering and changing in you, and I don't mean against your will, I'm talking about in accordance with your will.
Yeah.
You know, it's and in society nowadays, and a lot of the stuff that we keep running across, it's why everybody in the occult community keeps talking about, they're tired of regurgitated bullshit
Hmm.
because there's no food there. There's no sustenance. There's nothing to feed our souls. Nothing. You know, good or bad. No, we go and we find, oh, we come up with new spells, but the spells we come up with are based on shit that's
Based on old concepts. Yeah. Yeah. It's all based on old concepts. And, you can pick up a grimoire written in the 1500s and has pretty much almost the same similar information that you see modern day grimoires. Maybe it's worded different. Maybe it's not worded in such an old time English or whatnot, but it's the same stuff. It's the same entities. It's the same. And it's because it's an astral based magic science. And there's only so many types of astral entities you can call upon over and over again. And so you kind of get into this stagnation of spirituality where you need to break through that next level, and that next mental is that creational level of your own self. And when you kind of pin past that, that's where you get into that oversoul level. You get in that angelic level of yourself. And it's not about you contacting angels to get information or have them do your bidding or bind them or what have you. It's about you connecting to that level. So you becoming that frequency. And you kind of mentioned diet. Nobody can afford, like not everybody can afford fresh fruits and vegetables, and you gotta have to live what you do. But diet's a big part of a spiritual practice, and that's why the diet in Asaya Luxa is, I feel, it's pretty well put together in the fact that it doesn't limit you to things you could eat. It only lets you understand the quality of everything that you eat. And it's the vibration that you ingest that you also become. So diet has a big part in it. And I follow, I follow that diet now, I'd say about 80%. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I'm perfect still. I can do my diet perfect and do all this perfect. It's not the case. At one point, yeah, I was, 100% pinpoint on with my diet, with the book too. And the diet helps a lot, especially.
Yeah, page 178.
Yeah, conscious nutrition. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what it is, conscious nutrition, about making that conscious thought to choose something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really is. Like, you can go spend $2 at McDonald's, or you can go spend $2 at your store and get something else, and it's
it's always a choice.
Always a choice. And it's moving that conscious thought into a higher vibration for yourself. It's a selfish thing. I feel spirituality itself is kind of a selfish thing. Whether you're working with white or black magic, it's still a selfish thing. You're doing it for betterment of yourself or something else.
Oh yeah. I'm you got to forgive me, dude. I am not ignoring you. I wanted to show off some of your artwork.
That's cool.
And
sorry, it's really hot here and I'm like super dehydrated.
Oh, it's fun, man. No, like for example, this is what he's calling the Draconian frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Draconian frequency is covered in this, and the Draconian frequency isn't necessarily the grounding. It is the what I refer to as chthonic. It's the lower, denser, energetic realm. Correct me if I got that right. We got the using the words right.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it would be the reptilian level of somebody's energy.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was saying it properly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you go anything from that to Lyran frequency, much higher. Now the funny thing is that depending on and I'm gonna throw this out there. It's a bit of a tease, I guess, a teaser maybe.
Sure.
So and I found this out on my own, that if you already naturally vibrate and work at a certain frequency. Now this is in accordance with John's book. If you already work at one, you want to. It's not that you want to neglect it and not employ it, but you want to start with employing the opposite. And the reason why is because it will create a spiritual balance, if you will, a
Right.
harmony there that is fucking fantastic. Uh,
It goes back to that, the lyre frequency being more that angelic frequency. And like we were talking about, light workers and love and lighters only working on like one spectrum. Um, it's, if somebody is a light worker, I'm not like talking crap about it. It's just that if you're going to do the book, instead of doing like the lyre and connecting to that more angelic energy, working with that draconian energy is going to actually help bring your consciousness and your frequency into that state to allow you to, experience it again. Because you should never neglect that, and it does. Connecting to that frequency, it brings anger, it brings sexual aggression. It can bring up a lot of things in somebody. And if somebody hasn't really experienced it or dealt with it in a long time, re-experiencing those things can be rather traumatic. And it's a good thing if those things come up, because if somebody is understanding why they're coming up, it can work as a sense of healing.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk for just a minute about Zachiel, and I don't mean your next book. I'm talking about the being over this.
Yeah.
So this particular, would you call him an entity? What exactly would you refer to him
as I know him as? It's an ETI. What I call ETI, it's an extraterrestrial intelligence. It's an angelic ETI. So it's not really an angel. It's an energy that is angelic, but it's an extraterrestrial intelligence. It's more of an intelligence level than it is a being per se.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to Zachiel,
Mm-hmm.
I was astounded. Like I was telling you earlier, I went for, what did I say, 3 weeks, month and a half, trying to, no, a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how to communicate with Zachiel. Now, I have dealt with all kinds of different entities, beings, so forth and so on. And I couldn't figure out, because it wasn't working like an invocation, and it wasn't something I could evoke. And so, and the whole time I'm like, okay, so I'm going to visualize, I'm going to focus on this particular being's name, so forth and so on. Maybe even, work with the vibration of its name. And so I was like, calling it, and I was trying to communicate with it. I was, and I was telling you this about how, I was like sitting there going, okay, this thing's not answering. I mean, I could feel it. I know it's there, but it's not talking. I didn't know if it was a special spirit.
Right.
And come to find out, I was a special one, because it doesn't communicate like that.
No.
And we've sat there and we've talked about, the most interesting thing about this is such a living, powerful, just force or power or current, whatever you want to refer to it as, that if you can honestly tap into it, it explains it all. It does. You remember I was telling you, I was like,
Yeah.
oh crap, dude, how do I know this?
Pretty.
Like I knew, okay, this is what the next book should be about. This is blah blah blah, and everything else. And you're sitting there going, dude, I've already wrote that,
Yeah. Well, the next book, the Zachiel the Stargate Christ, it's not like your typical scrying mirror. It's based on a whole mirror. And this mirror takes a long time to make. It's very specific. There's a year-long meditation that's really recommended before even embarking on it. And that the reason why it's done that way is because there's 52 symbols around the mirror, and each symbol is almost like a sentence in itself, but the only way to know that energy is internalizing that symbol and meditating on it, like one would a tarot card or a sigil of any form. Once you take that symbol and you start meditating on it, you start imprinting your energy field with that symbol. You start becoming that symbol. All that energy in that sentence, which it means, starts becoming almost like an invocation. So there's like a whole year-long meditation that is kind of set before you can even really make the mirror. And the reason it's set up that way, because once the mirror is made, it creates such a strong energetic vortex that if somebody goes traveling through it coming back to body isn't exactly easy. So it allows your energy body to be able to be strengthened. And that way, when you return, you're not so discombobulated and, thrown out of whack, because it's definitely not something to be taken lightly. You know, in the new book was only supposed to be like a 100-page, you know, quick little grimoire, but yeah, it didn't turn out that way. Once I started writing it, I was like 100 pages in, and I'm just starting on the symbols, and I was like, oh, all right, you know. And of course, while I'm writing it, the chatter is just going off, and you know, Zakael's communicating in his cool way, and then of course the rest of my council is communicating in their ways.
You know, I want to kind of explain Asaya called Luxa a little bit, maybe for those who don't own the book. It is let's put it this way: most people will struggle their entire lives learning magical systems and learning how to make them work for them,
and then become frustrated in the process.
Yeah. This book, I don't know how to explain it. It unlocks the things in your psyche that need unlocked to be able to access and tap into those points that you need. I don't care what form of magic you're working. It could be black magic, white magic. It could be any of those things. Anything in that spectrum. Any of it. And what this book does is it allows you to tap into it. And when you do, what happens is it changes you, and it doesn't change you as in the sense of changes something that isn't normal or natural to you. But it's also how you tap into it changes. It takes away the things that no longer serves you.
Yes.
And it instead, what it does is it instills within you the power, the authority, and the sight.
Yes.
And I've been going on and on for a couple of weeks now about that spiritual sight thing, and then to get your book and just like, man, dude, it's a wild ride. It really is. By itself, you could sit down and if you used a Luxa by itself, the way you'd want to do it is you would want to take his exercises, his dietary regimen, all this other stuff, and you'd want to do it as close to as he describes it. And then as you're doing this, what's going to happen is that you're going to start to heal the body, you're going to start to heal the mind. And the funny thing is, we're not talking about a gradual, slowly over time, because automatically from just within minutes of starting the meditation, we're visualizing the symbols and their colors and things like this. What begins to happen is that there is a shift or a consciousness awakening. And like I said, all of a sudden you become more aware than you've ever been in your entire life. And man, it's wild. It really is. Like I said, I'm not comparing your book to another one, but I had recently, about a half a year ago, ran into a book on is a Lucifer and Luciferian spirits or something like this. And I bought like 2 copies of it. I don't even remember the name of it. And they had sat down and they did guided meditations. No name calling, no evocation, nothing like that. Just visualize like a field and a tree or something.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the spirit would appear. And I was sitting there and I was really astounded at how well that worked. And I was like, holy shit, that's kind of cool that, you don't have to do any of the normal stuff to get one of these entities to appear. And then it was even scarier getting your book. And I was sitting there going, oh, holy shit. But yours works like a book on consciousness.
Yes. Yeah. It's not so much about connecting to a spirits, there's no spirits calling, there's no invocations, there's certain invocations, I guess, for you, like they're more like affirmations, like I'm sure you've read through the whole book, you've read the invocations and stuff like that, but they're more affirming. They're affirming a standpoint of self. And that's what it is. You are consciousness. So it's like me, I'm well versed, I'm well practiced, I could practice really any form of magic if I wanted to, but I know personally I've had past lives or past experiences doing that stuff. So utilizing this, it's just working with yourself and becoming. It's not so much calling upon a certain entity or some spirit to help you. It's about you aligning to those your own energy of that to help yourself.
Yeah.
It's a very specific fine frequency if one can find it.
I liked how I was doing one of the exercises. The reason why I'm talking like I'm trying not to give away too much of his book because it's got a particular way of doing things.
Mhm.
But in this one particular one, you're visualizing a walk, extending, and it's like as I was doing this particular meditation, and I'm supposed to be visualizing this color, this shape, in this place, and so forth and so on. All of a sudden, just as soon as I got done doing it, it was like I know, I see, I am, and
Yeah.
the emphasis there was I. But I was not in the typical sense of the egoic self expressing itself,
Yes. It's the eye of the exalted self.
which you don't find a lot of people actually explaining this or even showing methods or ways by which to do this. I mean, that are actually effective and that you can like automatically tell, like, holy crap. Like I was telling you, as soon as I went to working out of it, like everything fucking changed for me. I mean, everything just automatically just no longer there. The blocks weren't there. The annoyances, the blockages, the stuff that just tries to coat your eyes so that you can't see clearly.
Yeah.
None of that stuff was there. I mean, it was like it had no place in my world at all. It was like I said, it was very strange, but to the ability to create an art, a work of art like this, where what it does is it puts the power back in the hands of the individual.
Yeah. And, like we said earlier, it's all about taking your power back, and so many practitioners and, anybody that's doing rituals, sometimes they give energy away. There's a lot of energies out there that'll intermingle and also take your energy. There's vampiric energies all everywhere, no matter which level you're really working at. And no matter what, taking back your own power, it kind of disconnects you from it, and you kind of, it's almost lonely in its own way, but it's so free. It has a lot more freeing sense to it. And when you have all the power back to yourself and you connect to your own highest God self, any kind of magic you do, whether it be black or white magic or any form of practice that you're doing, these kind of things will work with it.
Yeah.
It only allows you to become more powerful at what you do.
I swear it was the only book that ever made me feel like I was wasting my time with everything else I was doing. I was not used to that. That's a hell of a message from self to ever get is like, because I remember I fully did I did the right on page 14. I did connecting with the Draconian current, let it up into the Lyran current, and I'm sitting there and I'm balancing this shit out, and all of a sudden, past the whole self empowerment and shit, being cleared out of my way and all this other stuff. All of a sudden, I sat there and I was like, what the fuck are you doing, Will? What the fuck have you been doing?
Yeah.
So it was the only time I realized just how far away from where I was aiming, where I was intending to go, where I was, heading towards, and it wasn't something so severe that it couldn't be adjusted. But it was something that I could feel and could sense, but I just couldn't quite put my finger on, couldn't quite figure it out. And it was funny the clarity that I received from it. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
hell yeah. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to get you to talk a little bit about it yourself. And ones that you can share that you will share.
Sure. The thing is, like, if I talk about it a lot myself, we kind of covered all the points. It is a book that, if read from beginning to end, it shows you how to take back your own power. I personally think one of the most powerful things in the book is actually as simple as it may be to some people, is kind of like the chakra section, where there's a section in there where I kind of bring you through your own energy system, the 7 physical levels. There's more levels of the chakra system, whatever you want to call it, but I pertain with the 7 there because it allows you to take those centers and start applying it mentally and how those centers affect you. It allows you to look at your mental patterns of, your lower centers up to your higher centers, where your emotional states are, and then it correlates it to aspects of your body and what parts of your body were kind of created out of mind patterns that you yourself created. So it allows one to go look at those parts and be like, okay, I have hand problems. You know, like my hands hurt all the time. Like, why do my hands hurt? If you go look in there, you look at what hands represent, you look at what your fingers represent, you can start pinpointing your mental and your emotional state at what's creating that inside of you. You got bad back, you can look at it in certain support structures in your life, you know, depending on which level it is. And I feel that that part in that book is the most powerful, because it's not really so much rites to do to connect to energies, but it's more of a very deep self-reflection that one can do. It starts looking at themselves, being like, man, I do have some issues with this. You know, like, why does my back hurt? You know, why does my left knee hurt? You know, like, do I have a problem moving forward with females in my life? You know, like this book does say that I do. Like, you know, if I have a left knee problem, maybe I have a problem moving forward with females in my life. And it allows them to take a reflection at all their old experiences and directly what's in front of them right now, and allow themselves to start making conscious choices on a mental and emotional level to bring change to themselves. And it's kind of part of the healing of the book. You know, it allows people to self-reflect. And when you self-reflect on issues, it gives you power to, you know, choose differently.
Yeah. You know, I was, you know, like we were talking about this book, you know, and I was telling you about how I like how you had it kind of spread out, separated, you know, where it was individual could be held down, and then for the more advanced practitioner who actually understood what was going on and how to connect the dots to put this system together. Now, I thought this was funny. I've been there since day one on the forum, a member of thevioletgateway.com.
Mhm.
And it's interesting. It was just last week I discovered, among all motherfucking things, that you have these 5-minute meditations.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah. So need you bring that. I actually forgot that I had those on there. Thank you.
Yeah, and then
It brings you through all the meditations in the book. It does.
and then like I'm sitting here and I'm like looking at stuff like this, you know, of all the different chakras and stuff. And then I go to the Violet Gateway, because as soon as I went to the Violet Gateway and I saw this, wait a damn second, we can grab the book. Son of a bitch, you can put this shit together.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and it kept rattling more and more and more and more. Well, in the Violet Gateway, you have them equated to the different what is it? What are they called? Choirs of angels.
Yeah.
Hierarchy or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what you do is you take that, and if you have a working knowledge of them, and I'm not talking about here we're talking about spiritual vibrations. We're not talking about actual, you know, angels, demons, things of this nature. So for anybody watching this, don't.
Yeah. It's not about like, here's, you know, this is the symbol of Azazel or anything like that. It's nothing like that. It's that those are symbols for you to visualize, to connect to that kind of gateway of energy.
Yeah.
So you can be it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you still have a copy of the standard edition there near you?
Yeah.
Okay, if you would, I'd like you to show the cover of that one and explain and tell them what that one is.
This is the standard edition. It's in a nice purple violet linen, but that sigil on there is actually a gateway. And it does a lot of different things. It can be really done created in meditation for travel as well. But this is not taking anything away from the leather one, because the leather one's kind of set the same way. But this is the actual like meditative gateway that I do most of my workings with. Any kind of meditations, I'm generally using that because it helps clear all kind of negative energies that might be around, but also bring like a center focus right in the center. And it's, if anybody's ever seen it energetically, how a Merkaba activates, if somebody has their Merkaba activated on them, it takes on that form very similar. And it's more of a gateway for travel.
Now I'm going to hold this one up and I'm going to show the cover of it so everybody get a good look at it. Now, if you would, you know, explain that just a little bit.
That would be the Archangel Gateway. On the outside of that, you know, you have the old. That's anybody that's familiar with occult symbols. That's like a lot of like Samael is on the right. You know, you got Gabriel on the left, Zadkiel on the bottom left, and I think, God, I don't even remember the last one. It's been a while since I've actually worked with that grid. It's kind of an old grid of mine.
Surprised not to see Ock on that bad boy. Just
Oh,
saying.
Raphael. That's Raphael.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying I'm surprised Ock didn't make it on there.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because if you look at it, I'm using Samael as one of the solar entities and not a death entity. If you look at it, the symbol of the solar sun is actually pointed towards Samael, which is kind of unique in that working. It brings a different energy. If someone's ever using that in meditation, it definitely brings a much darker energy of light. But it's a very, very fine vibration of dark, if that makes any sense. It's a very, very light angelic energy, Samael is. And a lot of people work with them more like in a death current, in a death kind of, you know, angel of death, you know. And it's not so much more of the death current, it's more of just how fine that frequency of dark really is. It's more of an intense logic.
I will say this. With the religious, you'll catch them always carrying their religious text with them.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, even when I was younger and first started off in the Necronomicon, hell, I carried that thing around like it was a fucking Bible.
Yeah.
Well, since I've owned this book right here, this thing has never been more than 10 steps away from me at any time.
Yes.
And it's really strange because it's not like that. It's just one of those things where seriously, I'm in it every day.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I can visualize a lot of it just, just on my own without, having to go through it.
Yeah, go back for it to reference.
There's something about there's something about combining the symbols that are in there. Like, for example, you were talking about the Archangel Gateway.
Mm-hmm.
You can take these different gateways, and the first thing you do is you visualize yourself in the center of them.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you do.
Yeah.
The very first thing you do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you begin the channeling of the different colors and the symbols, and and the next thing you know, not only are you in the center of a circle that represents particular forces, but you are then channeling the powers. Like I said, this book fucking blows my fucking mind, man. I mean, I'm into high magic. I love ritual magic, but I tell you what, I've never had the effects of high magic ritual without actually having to, seriously get into it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where it's just like, I'm really astounded at how effective it is. And like I said, I mean, every day, it's kind of like somebody who meditates 2-3 times a day. I haven't meditated like that in a very long time. Every now and then, and I'll hit it in spurts, so forth and so on when I feel like I need to, so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then, started finding times where it's just like, I need to set aside time to do this, blah, blah, blah. Well, since working with this, like I said, as soon as I got it, the first thing I did was reading it. And I'm sitting there, even as I'm reading it, I started, I would stop, do the exercise, and holy crap, I mean, just the shift and the change. And then as I'm going through, I'm understanding and I'm seeing it and I'm piecing it together. And, man, dude, I'm going to tell you, that's,
when you brought up,
if you want to know your power, Asaya called Luxa. Hold on a second here. Quote that for me, brother. It's on page 15, I believe.
What were you talking about? You kind of dropped.
Asaya called Luxa, something in the body of light.
Oh, created by God in the body of light.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's something about that saying that when you're working through this, you start to understand that it's not a religious idea of God. It's not a religious ideology of God.
Oh, no, not at all.
It is the God self, and it's really interesting then that you start to look at yourself through that lens, and all of a sudden, the power of a hold that a religion could possibly fucking have over you. I don't care if it's left hand or right hand.
It can be mind control.
Do what?
It could be mind control.
Yeah, but it takes that power away, and it instills it right back in you. I mean, it's like I said, man, dude. It's not ass kissing. It's nothing like that. I'm just telling you straight up. If you've ever felt stuck in your life, if you've ever felt like God, I'm having to try way too fucking hard at this shit. or you just maybe you've been going so long that it's just like nothing fills, nothing satisfies, nothing nothing works, nothing. Not like that it doesn't work, like if you're doing spell work or spell casting or
You know,
rituals or rites.
I personally feel like throughout history, people that have searched spiritually and through the occult to advance themselves, there's only a certain level of initiations you can hit before you're stuck. Where you feel like you cannot hit that next initiation levels. And it goes back to like working again back with your oversoul or your direct creator is the way that you get that power back. It aligns you back with that. And earlier you said it's funny that you kind of been carrying the book around with you, and it's only like, people carry religious books around with them. I've noticed that locally here because there's a lot of local people that have my books, and somebody came up to me that has it, and he had it wrapped up in like this white linen. And a friend of mine that I was with, he asked the guy, he's like, "What do you have, like a Quran or a Bible or anything?" He's like, "No, it's just his book." He's like, "I keep this thing with me all the time." And I've been getting pictures from people that have, they put it on their altar for even just an altar piece, and they've already figured out that they can use the gateway symbol just to enter the frequency of the book itself. So it's been really surreal, because never did I think about writing this book that it would have such a profound effect on people, because I didn't know what was going to happen. You know what I mean? I'm pretty open with what will happen, but I was just like, who knows? If it affects one person, great. But now I'm getting people showing me pictures of them utilizing it on a daily basis and carrying it around with them and having it in their book bag all the time. And it's pretty surreal, man. It's a good feeling.
Oh yeah, it's from everything. I always get something from anything I read. I always do, one way or another, whether what not to fucking do. Or something that's useful, or so forth, so on. I was looking for a particular answer, and and my brother and friend, my boy Thorn, he goes and he puts out Become the Maelstrom, and I got a copy of that. And what I wanted the answers to was in that fucking book, which I thought that was crazy as shit.
Yeah.
So I got this outline I'm looking for in that one, but then the part that and that's the external aspect. Now, the thing that I needed internally, I thought it was really weird then that, with Asaya called Luxa, it just, dude, I don't know. In the Bible where they're talking about they can march around that fucking city and blow their fucking horn, walls come down?
Yeah.
Fuck all that walking, fuck all that blowing, just walls come down.
Pretty much, and I don't know, the work speaks for itself. I think it's just a very usable, it's a usable handbook. If I could sit at the astral level right before, souls are coming in to incarnate, and I could hand them a book, be like, "Hey, you get to keep this book with you when you're born. Here you go." It's one of those books that I'd give them, and be like, "Hey, here you go, just in case, and unfortunately, we don't live in that kind of world, but I feel like it's like a handbook for the incarnating souls of this planet.
I've known a lot of interesting people in my life, but it has got to be interesting to be you. That's
unique.
Not by that negatively. It is downright got to be fucking interesting to be you, because I'm gonna tell you something. We've known each other not even a year.
Yeah.
And we met over the Scorpion God, and blah 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 and all this other stuff, And you were sitting there and you were telling me about how you use the books as gateways, and I'm sitting there going, "Okay, cool, yeah, man, and I'm gonna get those books, blah blah blah." And I get my books and everything else. I couldn't make them pop like that, and I couldn't figure out, what the fuck are you doing? That, how come I'm not getting this? And it wasn't until this one that made any fucking sense.
Right. Yeah. And it's because, I work more with that Oversoul current. So if I do pick up a grimoire like Mark Allen Smith's work, because I'm working with my Oversoul, I'll be able to enter that frequency pretty quickly. Especially if it's, not saying like higher or lower is any better, but especially if it's at a higher frequency, those lower frequencies I can easily, traverse a hell of a lot easier. And when I picked up, the Mark Allen Smith books, man, like I didn't have to read them. I didn't have to open the books, but I was having amazing experiences and being able to use them in ritual. And, it definitely, I would feel like his books kind of helped me put mine together a little bit more. in a weird fashion, even though they're not even closely related to each other, really.
I think they align the parts of yourself.
Right, and that's what it did. And and I was really, even though my book is both kind of light and dark, I was still negating a lot of that dark energy that I know that I'm connected to, and that draconian energy. I know I have draconian soul genetics, but it's something that I've always kind of been like, oh, I can't let those succeed in me, blah 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 blah. And it wasn't until I actually was like, you know what, fuck this, like that is part of me. It is part that I actually have a lot of memories of, and I'm not going to just deny that. And having that kind of energy kind of swoop back into my life, and I think that's why during that time I was having so much chatter, just so much chatter. I think there was days and days and days where I was just having like what sounded like hymnals to Hecate and Lucifer and Belial, and I was like, okay, I get it. I'll just buy the books, I'll just go through them really quickly, I'll get what I need, and I'll be done. But yeah, they were great books, and it definitely gave me a lot of inspiration for mine, just because I understood what he was doing with the gates, creating the gateways in the front just to traverse. And both of my books and both editions of the book is made like that. You can traverse the information that's in the book just through those gateways, but one has to be, adept enough to be able to do it, I guess.
Yeah, I anybody that I like put on my channel or whatever, I'm not trying to help them sell shit. It's because I actually believe in what they're doing, so forth and so on. I have one-on-one with them. I've seen what they're talking about. Work through some of the stuff. So so it's something I personally agree with. But hands down, I have never seen anything that powerful and work that quickly. The problem is, well, it's not really a problem, but you'll find yourself all of a sudden looking around at all the shit you've amassed. And all of a sudden, you'll just be sitting there going, what the fuck was I thinking?
Yeah. Yeah, everything.
It's funny, the fucking clarity, all of a sudden, I mean, it's just like, it's like all the noise just goes away. Mm-hmm. All the distractions go the fuck away, and all of a sudden you have a clearer mind, and it's right there, and it's, for lack of better words, you can see eternity.
Yeah. And I also wrote it to be kind of a reference. Anybody that does the work in the book will probably start having weird dreams. Like a lot of different type of archetypes will come up in the dreams. And there is like a 50-some page dream dictionary in it. And dreams are so comprehensive. So I could write a 400-page book on just terms on dreams, but I wasn't going to. I picked certain terms that I felt were more prominent with the work. And then, thank you. Yeah, I was going to add that. Looking at the chat at the same time. And I forgot where I was going with this now. Where was it going with this, Waylon?
The clarity. The seeing eternity?
Yeah, I don't remember where I was going with this. Damn chat. Damn you people in the chat. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm kidding. It was Ethan. It was Ethan's fault. That's what it was.
Oh, he can just like throw a block out there all of a sudden.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, how dare you?
And you're like, I was thinking about cake. Wait, no, I was not thinking about cake. What the fuck? Yeah.
Oh, too funny. Too funny. Yes, dreams. Thank you, Nick. So like dreams are very vast. So I could like write a whole book on dreams, but those terms tend to come up a lot to people that are doing visualizations. And the reason I know this is because I've been sharing this work for years, but it's been very underground. It wasn't really in the occult world. It wasn't really public. I had a lot of websites that were taken down and hacked and, by certain alphabet agencies. I'm not going to name them here, but you can imagine, and I was talking about a lot of conspiracy things at that time, but it was because I'm kind of wrapped into that energy with my background. And a lot of this information is really intense. And when people started doing the visualizations, a lot of these same kind of archetypes came up. So if anybody's doing the work and they start having really weird dreams, use the dream dictionary. It is a very, very powerful tool in it. And it's not going to have every term under the sun, obviously, but chances are the terms that are coming up in the dreams are going to be found in there. And those terms will give you a better look at yourself from an emotional and mental aspect.
Oh, yeah. Starting on page 208, right across from the color chart.
Yeah, the color chart was is very important too. Like
Yeah.
the studying of colors, because you're going to start seeing colors in dreams. You know, all the colors you see in the symbols, and maybe the symbols will change colors. You know, you could be visualizing one of the archetypes of the angelic hierarchy, and all of a sudden it flips to a different color. Like, why did it flip to a different color? You didn't change it. You know, you were going for that specific color, but all of a sudden it's flipped to a different color. If you don't exactly know what that means, you can go back in the book and look at what that color means and try to associate what that's trying to tell you. Maybe it turned yellow. Maybe you need to start learning some things about yourself before you can even access that level of the angelic hierarchy. So it's very specific, and you know, people going through each level, you might not have success with a certain level. You might not be able to hit that dominions level at the top of your crown and enter that frequency without working on some things on the lower levels of yourself. So it's really a book about self-transformation, you know, and it's working on yourself to better yourself and merge with the higher aspects. And it's kind of, you know, it's not to say I can't do this, I cannot connect to this level. It's more about you're just not there yet energetically.
Yeah, speaking of changing and stuff, you know, we were talking about it, you know, day one got it, did the thing on 14 or whatever, and was showing my true form, blew my fucking mind. I've never seen that form, saved my fucking life. Actually, one I personally, I have nothing for one way or another, which speaks for the validity of the damn thing. That's scary.
Yeah, I remember you sharing that with me. It was very powerful.
Yeah, because it was something I'm not into that. You know, I might be aligned with the current, but not the form. You know, so
Right.
it's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched as I continued throughout the week doing the workings and stuff. Not only has my mentality changed, but my energetic self has changed as well. Like you know, for example, my taste in aesthetics completely different. You know, used to be this guy who's, you know, big on horns and shit and all this other stuff, you know. And like that mask I was showing you today that, you know, I'm gonna purchase for, you know, my ritual practices. Well, face it, man. As long as you know me, that's like way out there in left field somewhere from.
Oh yeah, it's totally.
Yeah, you know, it's like somebody that's like all that you know is covered from head to toe and stuff with skulls on them, and all of a sudden it's My Little Pony shit. You know, it's drastic. It's just like what the fuck. And no,
but it still looks
really pony mask.
yeah, but it still looks very epic. That's the thing. You know, it still looks epic.
A kitty mask, I'll have you know.
Yes, yes, a Peppa Pig mask or something.
Oh, yeah, you know, Hello Kitty, sexy.
Right.
But
no.
But no, going further, like let's talk about the dream aspects for just a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know, you were telling me, you know, keep an eye out for the dreams and stuff, you know, and all this other stuff. Well, I already know, you know, pay attention to every little thing, anything subconsciously comes through, you know, anything, and just write it down. Dude, I didn't dream for like 3 fucking nights straight. When I slept like a baby.
Yeah.
But you know, dreams. And then all of a sudden when I did start having dreams, they were pale colored. I don't know how to explain that. They were like almost as if you're walking in the underworld.
Okay.
You know, void of color and life and all this other stuff. And it was really strange that it coincided with things that was happening around me in my physical life, you know, working with spirits and things like that, and working with the Gadim and spirits of the dead and stuff. All of a sudden, in the dream realm, whereas normally I dream of the dead anyway, but like in my dreams, it had that same energetic coloring without the actual, you know, aspects of the spirits of the dead themselves. And at any rate, you know, then it's like, you know, as I continued working through it anyway, you know, it quit being so much that, and now then, it's not really that it shut off the dreaming part of it, but I noticed that my subconscious no longer, unless it is an actual message or something to think upon or to be brought to the forefront of my attention so that I pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So it refined the dreaming. So instead of having like weird dreams from like, oh, let's say I stayed up all night watching, you know, paranormal shit. You know, it's not going to be anything like that. Instead, you know, anything that does come through in dreams, you know, it actually has some kind of merit, and that attention needs paid to.
there's more clarity.
Exactly.
There's
Yeah,
more clarity.
it fixes the visualization and the focus.
Yeah.
Clarifies it, I mean.
And what's cool with the Dream Dictionary too is, just because they're dream terms and they have a certain, description of what that term means, that doesn't mean that those dream terms are different from your waking terms. The same waking archetypes, you may see a chair in the dream, but that chair is going to represent the same archetype in physical reality. You know what I mean? So it's kind of cool too to look at the Dream Dictionary and place those terms in your waking life to understand if there's anything coming at you or you're having a problem with something in your waking life. Those terms can also be referenced. So I find that to me, that's kind of why I put the ribbon, why there's a bookmark ribbon in it, is for people to use the most of the Dream Dictionary. They can always kind of keep it there and use it every night if they need to.
It's funny where I keep my bookmark.
Yeah, on the Dream Dictionary?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Not me. No, I've been interpreting dreams since.
Right, that's what I was like.
It's been, dude. Although I'm not gonna lie though, you know that some of the things I like your interpretations of. They seem more precise than any dream dictionary. Like seriously, dude, I've never bought into dream dictionary crap.
Right.
Anything in the subconscious that comes up, dreaming and stuff, is subjective at best.
And it's because it's based on the work. It's just not some frou-frou dream symbol. And dream symbols are infinite. They're absolutely
first. This ain't no frou-frou.
Yeah, this ain't no frou-frou dream. I've read a lot of books on it. I think one of the best books on dreams is a book by Stephen LaBarge. I think that's how you say his name. It's the Book of Lucid Dreaming or something like that. The Art of Lucid Dreaming. Hands down, probably one of the best books on dreaming out there. So if anybody ever gets a chance to read that book and wants to learn how to lucid dream to an intense level, that is an amazing book to possess.
I was about to say The Art of Lucid Dreaming is a good book as far as learning how to induce
Correct.
a state of memory recall.
Mm-hmm.
And also not just that, but some kind of, it's a projection thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. Dude, it's been years since I've read that book.
Yeah, it's a great book. Yeah, it's been years since I read it too. I used it when I was younger to have it kind of explain to me some things that were going on.
Yeah. But it's interesting though that recently, I'll share this, but I won't go great into detail or anything like that. So my wife has always had a problem, being able to see and to hear. And it was really interesting that when we did the exercise on page 14, and that's literally all it took. And as soon as she connected with her oversoul, like we were telling you earlier, when we were discussing it, that that was probably like I've been married to this girl for going on 16 years, and maybe 3 times since we've been married, ever seen her break out in tears from actual the experience and just how emotional and and cathartic it actually is. And not because it's an emotional thing, but face it, if you've ever felt held back, if you've ever felt like you're not good enough, or you're not strong enough, or you're not smart enough, you're not this, you're not that. I can't say enough. Page 14, and I'm gonna preach that shit, dude, like it's the gospel.
It's good.
Page 14, I'm telling you, that one simple meditation, connection with the oversoul.
And it really is simple. It is a pretty simple visualization and meditation. And the spirituality and ascension doesn't have to be hard. Making it hard, making it confusing is just very detrimental.
Yeah.
I'm all for left brain, symbols and all this, logical information and stuff like that. But it doesn't have to be that hard.
Yeah. I'm gonna make a side stop here in the chat thing. So Imagination was saying, he has all of Mark Allen Smith's books, currently slowly working through them. And then this next part says, I responded, and he said, I've picked quite a bit in the others, but I'm just trying to get through the first one firmly before doing anything with the other five. I have all six of them. I have.
Me too.
John, how long have I had this?
Oh, I mean, not that long, I guess.
Well, long enough that I should be a lot further than I am. There's been
Yeah.
that I should be a lot further.
Yeah.
And I literally 2 months ago finished the four main flames, the four main draconic temple of flame gateways.
Yes.
Whatever they're called.
Mm-hmm.
And just no matter what system you're working, patience, perseverance, of course, but patience. But after owning this book and reading through it, working through it, and having more of an idea of that inner self and just with the clarity of it, I will say this, Mystic. This book, it makes anything else that you go about working. I don't know how to explain this, but it's different. It's more powerful. It's more personal. You're actually it's not that you've never been connected to a source or anything, but it's way different. Like I have had the knowledge and conversation with my HGA Damon whatever for going on I think 14 years now, and I will say this right, well 11 to 14 years, but this right here allowed me to actually clear up a lot of the stuff that's built up around that connection between me and that divine self, that oversoul. Uh, it's one of those books where it's not necessarily that it stands alone. It can stand alone by itself.
Mm-hmm.
So for like the mystic person, yeah, who's not really into magic or anything like that, yeah, this book is perfect. It'll set you right on your way. But for those of us who are occultists or practitioners or whatever you call yourself, it empowers the work. I called this, John, the last video we did. I called this when I said that I have a feeling this book is going to be the piece that's missing from most practitioners' toolbox.
Yeah.
As far as being the most versatile, basic tool that they need to empower any and all magics that they perform or that they do.
Yeah.
And brother, I'm telling you, I keep it that close because I mean, fuck, man, dude. I mean, if it works, it works, and
it really never loses its power too.
Yeah, I was really amazed though. I would think that after a time, how like well, anything in life, how if you overdo it, it's the old factors and it's the building a tolerance to it. No, man, I mean constant. Like I think you could do these exercises 5 times a day.
Yeah.
In accordance with the different, stages of the sun and its placement. And I still don't think it would. I don't think that there would be that kind of burnout or anything like that, or where it didn't work as effective.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because it isn't based on something that you build up in the mind. It's something that has always existed inside us. And for you to just put this out there on a piece of paper and just, set it loose, dude, that's, I personally want to say thank you for this contribution to the occult community because, like I said, man, I don't care if you're a mystic. I don't care if you're a new ager. I don't care what your walk of life is. This, it's fucking awesome. I love my coffee, but I'm not gonna lie. It's like I told you, I'd have been happy with just, the standard edition, but oh no, not me, man. No, I good.
Like I said, I found the purpose of leather. I have, like I said, when I was taking those pictures, and nobody in the chat will know this yet, but I dropped one of my copy of the leather edition in a couple of candles one day because I was being a little clumsy, and I thought it was going to be completely ruined and have wax all over it and have wax embedded into it. It looks brand new still, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. I learned that I never had a leather book before, and in me it's never been a big thing of like, oh, get the leather edition or the high quality edition. I now know why. So I've kind of learned that this whole experience, I learned why, and it was kind of cool that I basically put that book through hell in one day, and had it dip into fire, dip into wax, and it still looks brand new. And it's kind of nice. It's a well-made book.
Yeah, if I'd have had the standard edition with that particular gateway, I'd have used I would have used 4 candles uh,
Mhm.
engraved with the Hebraic letters for it,
Yep.
for the vibration assignment only. Because I understand that there's going to be a lot of people that are hating on it because they think, oh, that's Hebraic and blah 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 and English schmackety.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter what. Let me tell you right now, when it comes
Great.
down to it, the system provided in this book has nothing to do with Hebrew mysticism. It has nothing to do with Hebraic magic, anything like that. It may use the symbols and the characteristics, but it's not in non-religious text at all.
Yeah.
Literally,
You won't find much religious text sound to it, And the thing with me, once I start talking, and if you get me on a rant of just God and energy in itself, I tend to start coming off kind of like religious-y, like in just certain terms. But that's just what happens when you start connecting to a very high frequency. Those terms just start coming out. That it's like almost like the only terms that can be said to even relay the message.
yeah. Well, it's like, I already talking, I was like, I started off learning the Hebrew language and everything else and working with it, and the vibratory formula of it and all this other stuff. And then I moved up to Enochian,
Mhm.
because to me, it was the next level of vibration. And the funny thing is that, no matter what nation or people it came from, it doesn't mean shit. If it works, period. And if it's useful, fucking use it.
You're right.
Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's ridiculous. If somebody don't like it, they don't like it. But the system works now. But the point behind all this that I was going to bring up was the usage of the letter for Aleph.
Mhm.
Now, man, dude, I'm gonna tell you what. Like I said, I've played with the written language of Hebrew, the phonetics, so forth and so on. Did the singing, the whole 9 yards. But I have never seen it employed in concert with other visualization designs and symbols and stuff.
Yeah.
Dude,
Your archetypes with them. Yeah.
yeah, I have never seen that because that was the thing. That's what I was hinting at earlier when I said I was afraid that at first I was like I hope this ain't gonna like align me with something that I'm just like I already been there, done that, and
Yeah.
it really surprised me. I was sitting there going, holy crap, this is like all if you like remove the religious overtone to it.
Right.
And I was really amazed at that.
Yeah. Where man's mind decided to, spit all over it, basically.
So I got a crazy question. Do you think somewhere between you and Zakael that you'll be further in putting more material on some of the other letters and somehow how you can interplay them with these formulas and maybe some new formulas, or something that you're going to leave up that the council decides to leave up to the individual?
Well, there has definitely been kind of batting around a whole type of like the whole 72 Shema Maforaj. I do have a system based on that. It is based on a certain visualization. I wouldn't say based on a certain visualization, but a certain visualization practice where you're taking the names and visualizing them properly in certain areas and quadrants within the body and in the mind. I definitely thought about doing a book on that, but ever since writing the new book, Zakael, I'm releasing the script that I've been working with, and a lot of my artwork, you'll see a very similar script in all of it. And it's based on a 36 letter script, and that's going to be featured. So I'm actually bringing the language out in a sense, almost like an Enochian type language. But every letter is explained, every letter is shown, the verbal intonation of the character is done, the numerical sequence is done. So the next book definitely is, I would say, the deeper workings of Asaya Luxa. Asaya Luxa's, got a lot of deep, powerful workings, and it's like the book that if you're ever lost, that you can go back to and realign with yourself. You know what I mean? So Zakael is going to be a little bit more of an intense working. It's more specific, direct ritual, and I think people that are more into ritualistic magic will find it pretty pretty appealing in that aspect, because there is a very strong, almost devotional practice to it. And I think that's what Mystic in the chat here likes about, Mark Allen Smith stuff, is it's very devotional. It's
personalized.
It's very devotional, but personalized in the way you go about doing it. And my next book, Zach Hale's kind of got that devotional aspect to it, but you're not devoting yourself to anything. The only thing you're devoting yourself is to yourself and the practice of aligning yourself to it. I'm really excited about that one, because it's like I said, it didn't come out like nothing I expected. I went at it with a certain mindset, and then it just kind of went on its own route and became something completely different.
I'm honored personally to have been on the ground floor of this, and to own such a fine copy. But it's just one of those books where it's just dumbfounding just how fucking powerful it is. I mean, it's crazy, and it's not how powerful it is, okay? Because I'm giving credit where credit's not exactly due. The system is so precise in how to unlock your power. Not the power of this god, or the power of that god, or this being or that being, or this current or that current. I mean, yeah, it does tap into the currents, but it taps into the currents of which all of creation resides within. And I don't know, am I saying that right? Because I'm not really certain how to explain that part of it.
Yeah, I'd say yeah.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, dumbfounded. I really am, because it's one of those things where that's what we're missing right now. That's what we've been missing in the occult. Is the actual meat and drink of the gods. We just don't get that. I mean, everybody's got a rite or a ritual or something like that, and those are fine. If you're in the right state of being, if you're in the right vibration, frequency, whatever you wish to refer to it as long as you're in your God self, that's fine. But like, there's a lot of people, man. I mean, seriously, shit. Like, their life is fucking shit.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like everything pisses down their back or something and tells them it's fucking raining. Whether it's financial hardships, whether it's relationship hardships, whether it's this, whether it's that. And this book, I swear, man, dude, you can sit there and you do these meditations, and it's not that it melts away, and it's not that it means it goes away, but all of a sudden that clarity and that purpose and that power and that sight and that vision and that state of grace and being, that state of power and authority comes back. And as well as I do, you give somebody who's been beaten down their whole fucking life this authority and this, and I don't mean like authority as in oh, you're the leader now, now you can treat us all like shit. No. But when they experience that true spiritual authority, that Godhead, for lack of better words, within inside themselves, and all of a sudden they know how to take care of a problem, or all of a sudden the problem resolves itself.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking crazy, the amount of power that abides within us, the ability that abides within us, and very few things actually show us how to do so.
Yeah, it's like true original magic. It was the way magic was when it was almost like first written, before everybody got their hands in it. It's a very specific form, and it's a very specific frequency, but it's such a specific frequency that it works. And it works pretty much for everyone. And the only reason I say pretty much for everybody, because some people will just not want to give it any attention. You know what I mean? But it works on the simple foundation of your brain only knows symbols, archetypes, colors, vibration. That's what your brain sees. Like, you're looking right now, you're seeing me on camera, but really what your brain's seeing is certain vibrational patterns and symbols, and it's just relaying in your mind to create an image. And when you close off the outside world and just go into the archetypal state in your mind, like even psychologist Carl Jung was trying to show, you go into that archetypal mind, you can just create.
Yeah.
And that creation reverberates through every level. And if you know how to create on every level of your being, there's really nothing that can stop you. Yeah, pre-taint magic. Sorry, said.
Hell yeah.
It's a very pure form of magic, and I don't mean pure as in like, oh, this is godly, or this is pure and perfect. What I mean by pure, it's very unadulterated. It's not, you can use it for whatever purpose. And whether you work with more demonic energies or you are yourself more of that kind of energy, you are still going to get power out of it as long as you apply it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't know. It's something that's been needed. It just straight up is. You take, for example, what was it? Like, I don't even know how many decades ago the Sefer Yetzirah came out, or 777. And we look at these as like reference and resource materials. But at their time, those were the charts and tables that everybody needed to like go, holy crap, and that was the jumping point for their practices. And this, Asaya called Luxa is just one of those. It's one of those, except for it's at a time where we need a little bit more than just okay, here's a list of correspondences and so forth and so on. It was it's a living thing, and so that's just cool as shit.
Yeah, it's new. It's not new, but it's different. You know what I mean? Like, this is all old practice. It really is. It's just that it's new because it really hasn't been released in its way. I have some recommending reading in the back of the book, and I feel that what I added in the recommended reading were books that kind of vibrated and kind of affected me the most. You know what I mean? It kind of helped me along my path and put my own mind together and figure out the stuff that I was working with.
Yeah.
So, I kind of gave homage to the, authors and stuff like that kind of gave me hope in my dark times and my, mental psychosis that I might have got myself into while messing around with some things. And, those authors kind of help me. And that's what I kind of wanted to do with this book, is kind of help people that have kind of lost their way and stray. That's why when you told me that your success story, I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is why I wanted to do it.
I have never, I mean, I remember for years communicating with my Damon, and just, some of the stuff, and trying to dig out, knowledge, information from him, all this other stuff, but I've never felt anything like that when he's like, I can feel my wings. And I mean, it was really funny, because I was sitting there and I was talking to somebody, I don't even know who or what. And all of a sudden it was like, voice change, and I could feel him just like ride like a wave from in, up and over and come over, kind of like how when you're doing the energy of where you're doing the covering and it does like this right here, and that's covering the power. Well, he pulled that little number on me, and was like literally like almost talking through me, the whole voice change, the whole tone, the energy all around, it was like I could feel my wings, and I'm sitting there going, holy shit, dude. Okay, wait a minute.
Yeah, see, that's awesome. Like, when you told me that, my whole body tingled. Like, when you first told me that, my whole body tingled. Whether my energy body tingled and then my physical body tingled. Like, goosebumps all over my hair was standing on its end. I was like, that's true. You know what I mean? That's like a true experience. That's true power. And the fact that you found that through a book that I, typed away at and wrote
All right.
is really, it's rewarding in itself, for sure.
Oh yeah. But brother, we are at an hour and a half, and I haven't seen any questions at all.
No, there's been really no questions. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I don't know, but you had a lot of compliments, and and a lot of people here.
No questions, anybody?
You guys feel free to ask them any questions you have. I mean, it's thevioletgateway.com. I don't even know if Mr.
I got a bunch of stuff on violetgateway.com, and I'm not really one of those, occultists or authors that I'm out there constantly publicizing services or, items.
Yeah, you definitely don't.
Yeah, I have services on there, but my services I'm not going to be calling upon a demon for you, and I'm not going to be doing a ritual for you. You know what I mean? Like, I will write a ritual for you. I will do empowering works where I, we'll do readings, but if you get a reading done by me, you're going to be putting in work on yourself too. You're going to be doing meditations and stuff like that. So my services aren't so much services where I'm doing rituals for you. It's more of like consultations and helping you get over certain things in your life. And those can all be seen you know, on the website and kind of looked at.
You got a question here from Soror Tamori. She wants to know what book you referred to that explains the spiritual significance of physical ailment.
Oh, that's Asaya Luxa. Yeah, it's the mind-body correlation.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait a minute. This book?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, I'm
digging the leather.
I'm really excited for that goatskin version of the devotee edition. That goatskin version is just going to be gorgeous.
I wanted the leather one, but I saw the purple one. I was like, but it's so pretty.
It is very pretty.
Nothing to do with money.
It is really pretty, and what's really cool about the violet purple on it, there's like tiny little specks of gold that come out of the violet.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, it turned out really well.
Really
I myself, I think the leather ones, I don't know, there's a certain energy that's embedded in the leather one, because I think it has a lot to do with the, you know, obviously the sigils, and, you know, there's not even Aeon Sophia Press or even my name on the leather cover. It's just symbols. Okay. Sala, yes, brother. You can ask away. Oh, if it was another book I read, no, not really. No, that a lot of that was just in meditation and thinking about it, and gnosis for my counsel.
Oh, it was probably.
I do know of an author that's putting together another one, a very specific health book made off of that. But I'm not really going to talk for him because I don't know when he's going to be putting that out. I know he's supposed to be editing it, but I don't know what the thing is on that. But it'll definitely be a book that I support in the future. People will be seeing me post about it because I do support his work. Oh, that's a good question, Sala. Like the consecration process. Yeah, so basically when somebody orders a book through my website, they will be asked to give their full birth name. What that means is that doesn't mean that I'm going to write your full birth name in the book and you're like, thank you. It doesn't mean that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take your full birth name and I'm going to be ritually consecrating the book to you. So I'm going to be using your name and embedding the book with your name, using all formations of it. And I do this utilizing certain different colors and formations and visualizations while I'm doing it. And basically what I do is I just anchor your name and your energy to that book. It's a lot like people would be consecrating a book to a spirit. Like, say let's say I wanted to consecrate this book to Zakael. You know, the reason I didn't do that is because I would rather consecrate it to the person buying it. So it's their book. It's not Zakael's book. It's not my book. It's their book. They are tuned and tied to that book.
Something like this right here, which I won't fully do, but
yeah. Yeah, and you know, then I'll obviously I'll write a little message in it and I'll sign it and write their name in it too. I had some people that didn't want their name written in. I had some people that didn't want you know what I mean? But I'm a person. Anybody can contact me and call me, ask me directly. You know, I'm not going to ignore anybody with questions.
Yeah, it's like mine. It says, "Dear Wayne, I hope this blows your fucking mind."
Love you.
Yeah, right? I was like,
yeah.
Mind blown, John. Mind blown.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, the consecration, I just see why consecrate it to a spirit that's already got, you know what I mean? That's already got worshipers and stuff like that, when I can consecrate it to the spirit of somebody. You know what I mean? That person that's buying this book is their own spirit, is their own soul. So why not consecrate it to that person?
And I want to throw out something out there real quick. John is not one of those people. You ain't got to kiss his ass. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to like be this, be that. For whatever reason, it's his skill, it's his ability, and it's with what he does. Like how he does these individualized readings for people, in the style that he does them, and so forth and so on. He can literally, he has like his own connection to everybody, and it's really, really strange, but it's special because there's not a lot of people out there. A lot of people, they're like, you know, oh yeah, you're so great, you know, and they don't even know you. Mm-hmm. And John's one of those people where if he writes it, you can actually feel the integrity and the honesty behind it, and that's just fucking astounding.
It's a Sala's message in there. Trust me, I know I'm black and he's my brother. I know Sala in person. Yeah.
Is that who I think that is?
No, I don't think no, you've never met Sala.
Oh, okay, okay.
Sala's a local.
I didn't know if it was one of our
Oh,
one of our friends.
no, I'm sure you two would get along very well though. No. He was the one who told the story of earlier that's got it wrapped in white linen. He's got it all wrapped up in white and stuff.
Oh,
when I seen that, I was like, oh man, that's so
dude,
cool.
that is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Mistake, for the order, by the way.
That is some freaking like that is salon that can stall, isn't it? And certain Middle Eastern sects would do that too as well. And not necessarily because of the sand and stuff. It was because, you know, the white linen, it would also keep whatever it was cooler.
Yeah, makes and plus makes it pure. You know, it's like a symbol of purity as well, the white linen. So a lot of Muslims, or you know, anyone that follows Islam, they often wrap their Qurans in some form of white linen, and it keeps it kind of purity and cleansed.
Yeah, he's definitely after my own heart. My book is like a piece of my soul. That's what I'm talking about. I'm telling you, I don't know what it is about that book, but you get a copy. It's one of the only books that I stand by when I told you there is no way in hell I'd ever put that in paperback. And it's not because trying to keep other people from being able to get it. It's not like that.
Right. I'm not really allowed to. You know, I thought about doing it, and you know, me and Aunt Sophia Press even talked about it, and I just, you know, my council really doesn't want that because it's harder to embed a frequency. You know what I mean? It really is. And using certain materials like leather, like cloth, and certain linens, and even goat skin, like the devotee is, there's a certain energy that's embedded into it. You just can't find that into a paperback.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Oh, you got another question, Mystic. Is there a way to ask you questions if I have them when working the book?
Yeah, Mystic. You know, you can always contact me on Facebook. But what I really want people to start doing is I have a question and answers section of my website. Anybody that has a question dealing with any of the work, anything in the book, anything about exopolitics, ETs, I mean, it could be some pretty fringe topics even. I love talking about some pretty fringe things. You can ask these questions on the website in the question and answers, and it allows me to answer the question not only directly, but post it openly so other people can also view it and also put in their information as well. So I love when people utilize that. It's something I used to use way back in the day on some old websites, and it worked really well. So I kind of hope that starts rolling up. But if it's ever a really personal question, you can always contact me personally directly through violetgateway.com or my Facebook, which you can find on Jon Vermilion. It's just pretty simple.
And the Violet Gateway, I will say this: you can post there, and unlike like Facebook, social media, where sometimes if you're in certain groups or whatever, you run across these enlightened souls that are so enlightened that they created the sun. You don't have that problem there. Very good group of people, very very good. So you know, I would definitely suggest, like anybody, like even if you don't have the book, I tell you what, thevioletgateway.com. Check it out. You can sign up. It doesn't cost anything, just for, you know, regular membership or whatever like that. You know, he's got 3 different tiers. The first one's free. The other 2, you know, different prices, but you get different services, stuff like that. You can post, you know, anything like that. You know, like you said, you know, you can ask him private questions there. You know, he's trying to build a
forum. Yeah, there's a forum too. I'm really trying to build a community, and that community is like, I don't want it just be based off my book. You know, if you don't follow my book, I'm not gonna, you know, look at you differently. You know what I mean? I see any form of spiritual practice as some form of a soul returning home. I like the idea of community, and my website's a great way for community, and it is pretty new. So I mean, it's slowly going. I try to post blogs often as much as I can. I'm always writing stuff, so I try to update, you know, as much as I can.
Okay, I gotta laugh at that. I like Soror there. We would call it I poor silk. Boy, that's a thelemic shit right there.
Oh no,
93, sister, 93.
that's good. That's good. I'll take
So
it.
we'll obey the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.
Yes.
What say thou, poor silk? I like that.
Uh,
Oh, but no, seriously, I know we've been kind of goofing off here a bit and everything. If anybody else does have any questions though, like serious, we'll try to get them in here because kind of we'll try to wrap this up just a bit. Uh, but seriously, I mean, it's been awesome having everybody here. It really has, and I love having John on. Period. In the story, and I just like chatting with you, man. I don't give a shit whether we on here on Facebook, over the Violet Gateway.
and I'm a writer. Like if you're gonna come to me with a question and interact with me like via typing, it is very different, and I do come off different energetically typing. It's not that I can't talk or I don't have a large vocabulary when I'm speaking, but it's harder to put a lot of these concepts, especially the way I see them in my head, into physical words. So you'll find if you're talking to me via either email or some form of typing method, I can tend to put terms a little more clearer.
I like how you managed to do something high magicy that for as much as I've read high magic and a lot of the different systems and stuff I've practiced in, Soror kind of made me think about this for a second. So there's a lot of things where unless you belong to certain orders and so forth and so on, lawfully they can't speak about it because it's part of that whole keep silent thing and keep it from the uninitiated, that whole
Right.
pearls before swine thing. What's interesting that you've managed to put out a book of secrets without breaking any kind of sign of silence or anything of that nature. So
Right. And there's a lot of secrets in the book. If somebody with a very discerning mind and a very keen mind is reading it, they're going to be able to read between the lines of some of the stuff in there and put more knowledge together. I'm a very big believer that we're in a time period where a lot of those secrets are now coming to the surface, and a lot of this information and a lot of the old occult teachings are now being more widespread. And it's now we're dawning on a time where this stuff is like needed. We need this as a planet to progress ourselves. If people don't start progressing themselves spiritually, there's going to be, some hell, and not a good hell by any means.
Not too long ago, I think it was back a few months ago, I had done a video concerning the breaking the silence, and it was talking about breaking the covenant or the keeping silent thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very interesting. Is that the sign of silence, the whole Paul cry, and so forth and so on. Another 93 reference. You've managed to keep the silence. And one of the things that they explain is that you can only worship in silence. For outside of silence, you know not what it is that you actually worship.
Right.
It's interesting that your book, the methods in it and stuff, there are sounds and stuff you make. That's not what I'm talking about. But a lot of the secrets and the methods and stuff like that, like I was saying, what they would have considered, strict laws or rules against, sharing of things. And when a spirit shares something with you to share with others, you can always tell the difference when you watch others and how it affects them, what it does for them.
Right.
And so once again, like I said, for somebody that, that doesn't do the whole regalia and, hollering at the winds and so forth and so on. Dude, it is so astounding how you fucking put this shit together like that.
Because you don't need to. Your energy, if you just do it energetically, it's just powerful. Sorrow here says there's nothing secret when you look within. It's already available to all of us. That's what I believe anyway. I believe that 100%, and that's very true. And all the secrets are locked inside of you. No, there are some things that you know, there are some watchers and there are some kind of astral level watchers that definitely watch what is said on the physical plane. And what happens there is they certain things mentioned in physical reality alter the vibration of physical reality. So certain concepts, certain ideas, certain ideologies, or even very esoteric concepts that you don't really hear too often, they don't want mentioned, you know, and that's a lot about keeping that secrecy. And I found myself in the, you know, a long time ago when a lot of my websites were being hacked and I was being, you know, pretty heavily watched. And I was saying things that I just shouldn't have been saying, you know, because I had that thing. I was kind of more of like, you know, I don't care what I say. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to tell people what's going on. And there's definitely a different way of doing that than just coming out and being some crazy, you know,
Well, yeah, because I mean, you know, it's such a
spewing
thing
information everywhere.
when you're trying to point out truths and things that you know. A lot of the times, the very first thing that those in authority or power try to do is to make you seem like you're the craziest person, so that nobody listens to you. You know, I think it's funny you're talking about this because one of the side effects of doing the Lyran transmission was that all of a sudden I became aware of all of a sudden of things in my area that are actually keeping tabs. And
Yeah.
like, this is shit that's never crossed my mind.
Yeah, you know, and that's the thing. Like, people ask me why I'm so conspiratorial is because it's not so conspiracy when you see it. And when you're working at a certain vibration and a certain frequency, you see a lot more things that you don't see before.
And like this crazy man I heard say one time, it's not really paranoia if they're really after you.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
And I like what Soror says. We keep truth from ourselves by not listening to what we know deep down.
Very true.
I think that hits on what happened when I actually went to working through this book. Is I think that's what happened. Is that, you know, for a while I just kept like, no. I know what I'm doing. I know how to get there. You know, so forth, so on. And I wasn't listening to that part of myself. And I think that opening up to that degree, I think it just, you know, like that spiritual Drano I was talking about, which is really stupid concept or a way of putting it, but it was the only thing I could think of, man. I mean, it was a blockage remover like that. And then
definitely clears and transmutes.
yeah, I'm feeling like a fucking idiot because I'm like, holy shit, man, I fucking knew, you know. And it's not that you buy into your flavor of Kool-Aid that you're trying to sell to people, because it's not like that.
Right.
I mean, there's enough people like that out in this world. But face it, on the stage that we're playing on, and at the level that we're playing at, what we're doing is, in the words of Dan Updike, is we're trying to educate.
Yes.
We're trying to open the minds, and we're trying to, you know, enlighten and to awaken, and you know, and all these different things. And the thing is that we have a responsibility, you know, with everything that we know and everything that we can do. And we go out there and we're like, oh, hey, here's a really cool system. You know, you ought to work this, you know, blah, 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 yakety schmackety, you know. You have to take responsibility, not necessarily for what that person does with it, but we have to take responsibility for if we put this out there, this is going to be the reaction. I mean, it's a domino effect. And no, you can't possibly imagine all the different angles of it. But you know, you have to at least be strong enough inside yourself that you're aware.
Yes.
Of, you know, the consequences of it. And
there's a certain self responsibility that comes with it.
Yeah, and you know, I can understand, you know, like we talked for a while about how, you know, you were so hesitant about some of the material. You know, anything from stuff you put out, stuff you want to put out, you know, stuff like that. And it's not really hesitance. I don't want to put words in your mouth. But you know, some of the things that you're like, you know, I put this out there, but you know, I don't know.
Right.
You know, things of that nature. There are a lot of things that I would love to get on here and teach or, you know, explain or tell. And I can't, because the simple fact of it is, you know, some of that stuff, man, not everybody needs to freaking know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you haven't gotten to a certain level of understanding, You know, that's a loaded gun, and you have no idea of gun safety.
Well, like take that recent little article I wrote on the by the gateway of the vehicle of Zakeo. Um, I've been using that for 10 years, you know, and I've never wrote about that ever. You know, I've never wrote a single word about that, and it was the first time I ever did it. You know, and it took that long for that information to really start coming out. And I think the reason why it was okay to start coming out with that is because I'm working on that second book. You know, and it was like, this is kind of something that should be utilized during this. You know what I mean?
Well, if you're also going by the eons and the changing and so forth and so on, you know, supposedly, you know, I know it hasn't quite hit there yet because a lot of people don't understand the timing of when eons change and so forth and so on. Like, you know, they're talking about, you know, and I don't mean the eon, of course. I'm talking about, you know, like, you know, we went from the Piscean age into, you know, Aquarius, you know, into the Aquarian age. Uh, but the thing is that it's supposed to be a time of illumination,
Mhm.
you know, and you know, where things come to the surface. This is that so-called breaking the silence. This is that, you know, things coming into the light.
Right.
You know, this is the Luciferian age. You
And
know, that even you talk about in this book. I mean, dude, okay, so for all you cool kids out there that want to buy a book that has the word Lucifer in it, guess what? It has the word Lucifer in it.
let's have the word Lucifer.
It has the word
It also
Lucifer.
has a different variation of the word Christ in it. And if anybody ever hears me say Christ, I'm not talking about Jesus. You know, if I'm ever talking about a Christ figure that's the name of Jesus, I will say Emmanuel. But if I'm talking about Christ, I'm only talking about a consciousness level. It's only a consciousness level. It's not a person. It's not a being. Yes, beings exist and vibrate to this consciousness level, but it is only a consciousness level. And it's something that can be obtained, but it's a very fine frequency. It's a very, very fine frequency. And if you want to denote it to a certain color of light, it is clear light. It is experience before experience. It is unconditional experience. It is unconditional logic. It is unconditional love.
Yeah, it's like, you know, if you take into account that a lot of really powerful material that was used to only be taught in like priesthoods and priestesshoods and so forth and so on, and all these different little cliques or whatever within the temple settings and so forth and so on. All this information was held sacred and silent, was only taught, you know, in our order and all this other stuff. And the reason why is because they kept it pure and they kept to their teachings and so forth and so on. And because the information would not change because it was so pure in its form
Mhm.
that to add or take away from it, yes, that's a Bible reference, that if you added or took away from it, you were altering and changing it from what it was originally actually designed to do, which was to open you up to that force of that power.
Right.
And, you know, and I see the same thing in Asaya. It's crazy, you know. So like I'm totally looking forward to Zakael. I've got to see, you know, the next stage of that one.
It's going to be a good one, man. I have a good feeling about it just because like I personally know the material in it. I personally worked with the mirror. I personally worked with the items in it, and it's a very powerful book. You know, it's something I never thought I would put in a book because it's a pretty, you know, it is the practice basically of me. You know what I mean? Like my practice, if I'm going to sit down in front and use a scrying mirror, it's what I'm using. And you know, my counsel was very okay with me doing that because it is time in this kind of world that we live in, it is time for people to start utilizing such technologies. You know, it is more openly. You
Yeah, I like the concept.
you can't even turn it on TV without seeing shows about the occult or shows about magic or, you know, angels and demons. You see it everywhere. You see it in UFOs and ETs. You have our government releasing information about UFOs, but now they call them something different, you know, and we are we are living in a world that is constantly changing, and it's changing very quickly into different rates of vibration. And some people are keeping up, some people aren't keeping up. You know, but I feel people that are on like the forefront of the occult, and even some people in the New Age movement, even some religious people that are following religions, they understand it differently. They understand it in a bigger perspective of consciousness, and that's what's needed for the planet. It's not needed in any worshiping of deities or others. It's finding worshiping of yourself, embedding yourself for the others around you.
Yeah, and with the Merkabah that you're describing, I've used like in High Magic, they use the body of light. There's a body of shadow, and in certain left hand path practices. Uh, we had been talking about I utilize a different form for creating a chthonic vessel
Mhm.
or form by which to traverse the different rays. And when I was reading that article on the Violet Gateway, I was sitting there going, "Holy shit, man!" It's like it's like we're using two different words, but we got the exact same concept.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't always matter the word, man. It's the vibration.
I know, right? If it works, it works.
Words have vibrations, but intense key.
Yeah, except for the fact that you're using tried and true language
Yeah.
as the actual construction of said vehicle, and there's something to be said about that because it's the same thing as a belief system. One person believes it, it's powerful and it's true to them. A million people believe this shit, and holy crap, at the power you gave to it. So
Right.
you might as well learn to use it and harness it and to use it effectively, and that's what John's done here. So
Right.
crazy
Yeah,
shit.
and I can't wait. I more and more people reach out every day, and that's what I like. I like when people reach out to me because it creates a direct connection. And as long as the person's, at least respectable. Definitely some people do contact me and they're kind of assholes, and those are the kind of people I just don't really talk to. I don't really have time or place for that. I want to talk to people that want to learn. I want to talk to people that want to progress themselves and have an open mind to different concepts and, you know,
Yeah, I can always tell when you found the line of them,
yeah.
especially in conversation.
Yeah, right.
Because it's like, so there's like, I haven't heard from John 3 or 4 days. Oh, what you been doing, man? Oh, damn busy.
Yes.
you know, but it's always, it's always cool. Uh, for anybody who doesn't know this, any any link that I can possibly add, I'll add underneath the description of this video. So just hit the show more thing underneath the where it says the Black Tower and gives the date and all that other stuff. Just hit show more, and I'll give all the relevant details of everything from the Violent Gateway. Probably even add. Does Miskatonic? Do they still have any of your copies of your books, or are we still just?
I don't know. I think the last time I checked, they only had one of each.
Okay. Well, we'll put it in the Violet Gateway. How to find John on Facebook. He's got his own YouTube channel.
I do, but I don't really use the YouTube channel
Yeah.
yet. I mean, you're more than welcome to add it. The more people that start adding it, the more apt I am probably to do videos.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and I'll add that at the end. That way, everybody can find my brother here. And
It's kind of a spoiler, but like hopefully within the next 6 months, I'll be able to do live workshops from my website. So a lot like how we're doing here, people can just sign into the website and they can log into the video, and it will be like a seminar, basically like a workshop. And it'll be based on like certain meditations and guided meditations and energy work and all that fun stuff. And we can do that all from a distance right on that website. And hopefully within the next 6 months, I'll be able to have all that together.
hell yeah.
It'll be about a 3-hour workshop, so it'd be pretty intense.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah,
I'll be in line to be like, yeah.
it's intense. A lot of intense mental and personal work.
Oh yeah. But I want to say thank you to everybody for being here tonight, and to thank John for his time here.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Oh yeah. Is there anything you'd like to close this out with here, brother?
No, I just want to say thank everybody for joining in. If you have any questions, ask them now. But yeah, go to violetgateway.com. Add me on Facebook, Jon Vermilion. Like I said, violetgateway.com is probably the best way to interact with anybody, whether it be me or other members of the community.
Yeah. And with that being said and done, I'm going to wish each and every single one of you all peace, blessings, and power. Till next time, keep it real.
Thank you.